You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
The Hidden Childhood Roots of Samuel Alito's Supreme Court Rage, based on an article by Bill Blum-Truthig. Samuel Alito is not a temperament problem. He is the product. The seed is the weapon. The source is about Samuel Alito's anger, performative contempt, and recurring outbursts. That is the least interesting thing in it. The real story is that when lifetime appointed justice has used institutional power to help strip abortion rights, weaken labor, expand gun rights, bless religious liberty as a selective exemption machine, and hollow out voting protections. His mood is not the issue. His votes are. Alito does not merely hold opinions. He sits on a court that converts his preferences into binding national injury. That is the machinery here: unelected power, shielded tenure, and no meaningful democratic correction once the damage is done. Misdirection as a habit. The article spends time on his bitterness, his childhood, his social alienation, his public sulking, and his sensitivity to criticism. That portrait may be psychologically plausible. It also risks doing exactly what institutions like the Supreme Court want: recasting deliberate political hardball as a personality quirk. This is not some courtroom version of a cranky uncle. Alito has repeatedly used his position to advance a hard-right legal project. When he sneers, objects, or acts aggrieved, it should not be treated as color commentary. It is part of the same politics. The contempt is not incidental to the outcome. It is how the outcome gets normalized. The court protected its own extremist. One especially revealing detail is Alito's outrage over being answered from the bench, followed by the clarification that he had in fact been notified. That small episode captures the larger pattern. When challenged, he frames himself as the injured party. When corrected, he does not repair the record. He escalates. That matters because the court's conservative majority has built a culture where accountability is treated as an assault and scrutiny is treated as intimidation. The result is a court that demands deference while issuing opinions that reshape the country without democratic consent. His personal grievance became public policy. The article ties Alito's worldview to his desire to reverse the social changes of the post-war era: secularization, demographic change, women's autonomy, LGBTQ equality, and broader liberalization. That is the ideological spine of his career. His jurisprudence is not neutral law with conservative seasoning. It is reactionary restoration dressed up as constitutional interpretation. His Dobbs opinion is the clearest example in the source text. He did not simply overturn Roe. He insulted it, then reached back into medieval and early modern legal authority to justify stripping away a right people had relied on for half a century. That is not sober adjudication. It is political rollback with footnotes. The court's real cover story. The article also notes Alito's objection to reporting on his luxury flight with billionaire donor Paul Singer and his insistence that Congress cannot regulate the Supreme Court. That line should be read plainly. He wants the benefits of state power without the constraints attached to public office. The court's conservative bloc has long sold itself as the guardian of institutional seriousness. In practice, it has become a protected chamber for ideological rule, insulated from ethics enforcement and contemptuous of transparency. The result is predictable: oligarchic access, selective secrecy, and rulings that track the interests of power while pretending to transcend politics. What this story really shows: the lesson is not that Samuel Alito is unusually angry. It is that American institutions keep rewarding people whose resentment lines up with reactionary goals. A justice can be openly hostile, ethically slippery, and politically extreme, and still remain wrapped in the prestige of judicial neutrality. That is the larger pattern. The problem is not one irritable man on the bench. It is a legal system that launders authoritarian impulses through procedure, then asks the public to mistake the stain for jurisprudence. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.